This is problem 1 in review of descriptive statistics. The accompanying table contains ocean temperature data in a tourist region for the past 25 days. Compute parts A through E. So let's open up the table. Here we see 125 temperature values. I'm going to open this up in StatCrunch. So in parts A, B, and C, we're filling in distribution tables. The first is a frequency distribution. Second is a relative frequency distribution. And then a cumulative relative frequency distribution. So in StatCrunch, what I will do is I'll choose Stat. I'll go down to Tables and choose Frequency. Choose the variable name. And then for statistics here, I want 3 distribution tables. So holding down the Control key or the Command key, I can click on just the ones that I want. I want frequency, relative frequency, and cumulative relative frequency. When I press Compute, it will bend things, and it just happens that it bend in the same fashion that we did here. So in this case, I've got my frequency, relative frequency, and cumulative relative frequency distribution table. And I can just enter in the values one by one. So bear with me. 1, 22, 49, 34, 13, 5, and 1. Then for the relative frequencies, 0.008, 0.176, 0.392, 0.272, 0.104, 0.04, and finally 0.008. And for cumulative frequency, here remember we're just adding up as we go along the relative frequencies. So the first is 0.008, second is 0.184, the next is 0.576, then 0.848, 0.952, 0.992, finally a total sum of 1. So there I've entered in the frequency, relative frequency, and cumulative relative frequency. Now I need to match the corresponding histogram to my frequency table. So my frequency table goes from 1 to 22 to 49, and the only one that goes from 1 to 22 and then back up to nearly 50, 49 is this histogram right here. So I'm going to choose option C. Now if I wanted to, I could construct a histogram. If I went to Graph in StatCrunch, shows histogram, shows the variable. Here I can choose where the first bend starts, which is at 70. And it goes 70, 72, 74, so the bend width is distance 2 apart. Press Compute. And if you'll notice here, I've got a histogram that looks very much like what we've got in option C. And if I hover over the bars, you can see that I could peel the frequency distribution right off the histogram and then use that to construct the relative frequency and cumulative relative frequency. All right, the last question here, part E, for what percentage of days was the ocean temperature less than 80 degrees? So if we look at our cumulative relative frequency, this is exactly what it gives. This is the proportion that are less than 72 degrees, the proportion total less than 74, and so forth. So right here, this is the proportion of days that were less than 80 degrees over all 25 days. So that would convert to 95.2%. And so that's how we would construct our frequency, relative frequency, and cumulative relative frequency distribution tables. Construct a histogram, and here interpreting the percent less than some value. Hope this helped.